Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us on your Thursday. We're so excited to have you here. And the reason is because this is our first YouCode forum in San Francisco. We did one in New York a few weeks back, but we're so excited to bring it here as well. Show of hand, I want to know a little bit more about you. So who here is a founder? Awesome. Who's an engineer? Okay, and the rest of you, what do you do? Product. Very cool. Very cool. Well, welcome. Who here have heard about you.com before? Cool. And Databricks? Everybody, yes. So we are you.com. So what we do is we provide you with APIs for your agentic workflow. So let's say your agents need real-time web search. You can use us to do that. And we are partners with Databricks, and they are the one who are hosting us in this beautiful space. I'm Mariane Bekker. I'm going to be moderating the panel, and I'm head of DevRel at you.com. So how it's going to work, we're going to have two lightning talks, so one from our CPO at you.com, and then from the lead GenAI at Databricks. And then we're going to have an agentic panel with some amazing speakers. So really how we do these panels is this is for you. This is your time to learn from like engineering leaders. So prepare your questions because a lot of the time will be spent on just going through what you need to know. But without further ado, I want to first say a few thanks to a lot of people who put this together. First of all, thank you so much, Madison. She's the reason why we're all here. She's our head of partnership at you.com. Yes, give it a big round of applause. My team, Pramanya, she is our community lead at Founders Bay. She's the reason why all these events go without a hitch, or sometimes they do small hitch, but she's there to help us. And then my team at you.com. So raise your hand if you're at you.com. Awesome. We have a lot of people here. We have our president of search, Alper, in the back. So please go and talk to him afterwards. We have our CTO who's going to speak, our CPO. So Saurabh, do you want to join us? And then I want to say also thank you so much, Databricks, for hosting us. Does anybody at Databricks want to give a few words about what you guys do? I think everybody knows. All right. Okay. Well, without further ado, give a huge round of applause for Saurabh. He's going to talk about agents.
All right. Thank you all for attending. How many of you have seen this before, where your agent, go back a slide, is confidently saying that this is the price of a product, or this is what happened yesterday at a sports game, and when you look at it, it's just wrong. It's out of date. I see, show of hands, how many of you have seen that type of issue before? So this is a problem where the model was fine, the reasoning was fine, but the data was wrong. And this is what we see all the time. The models are getting better every month. There are amazing products coming out of OpenAI and Google, Anthropic, and others. But what we see is the search layer hasn't shown up. It hasn't kept up. And what happens is if your agent cites a source from last week, users stop trusting your product. If your competitor agent surfaces a regulatory filing before you do, your customer switches. And if your CIO asks, can we verify the sources, and you can't, it's a black box. Every hallucination is a headline. Every one of these issues is the reason why a customer may not trust your product, may switch to another one. And that's the difference between people that adopt your product and people that abandon it. And so what we've seen is that the bottleneck is shifting. It's typically not the models that are the blocker or the ceiling anymore. It's the data. And that's really where we sit. We are augmented intelligence. We're the search infrastructure that actually makes your models useful. And that's where we are maniacally focused. So some of you may ask, well, why don't I just use the search that comes with, the Google API or with OpenAI, right? And for some cases, it's going to work just fine. If up-to-date information from the web is a minor part of your feature, you should absolutely rely on the services that those excellent companies provide. But using dedicated infrastructure like you.com makes sense if you don't want to pay the LLM tax. If you need web retrieval, you have a complex orchestration engine on the other side of it, and going through the LLMs just isn't going to make your life easier. It may make your product more complicated. If you need more control over the search layer, you can't. If you need to retry a search, vary the depth of the search, scrape content, or the general web search isn't deep enough and you need a more custom-built index of the web for your particular use case. That's really where we come in. And we provide freshness, we provide depth, we provide domain ranking if it's necessary, and unified sources. And so this is really what we deliver today, a search infrastructure that is hyper-focused on making sure that your agent's needs are delivered. And we really operate at enterprise grade. So we're the number one in information freshness. We have less than 650 milliseconds latency, P95, over 1 billion queries served plus per month, and over 100,000 developers now on our platform. We serve folks like OpenAI, their OSS models, Alibaba, Amazon, DuckDuckGo, the list goes on. And we offer 5 APIs today: web search, contents, which is able to extract content from the web, new search, answers coming soon, and research API, which is essentially our agentic search offering. But there's more than that off the shelf. A lot of our customers tell us that, hey, can you also give me a single pipe that is my augmentation layer? So bringing together both web data and data feeds or private data into a single pipe that knows which source to go to for any particular query. Vertical data feeds. So if the information that you need is sitting in PitchBook or Statista, we're going to go off and get that data for you. Or a set of websites that a typical index doesn't crawl. We can create that customized, what we call vertical index, to replace a general web infrastructure that you might be using. And what we've seen here is by doing these, accuracy and even latency can go, accuracy goes up, latency goes down for these particular custom-built use cases. But don't just trust my word for it. We have a bunch of benchmarks. We're publishing benchmarks all the time about how we compete against a lot of the great companies that are out there. What we're most proud about is we're number one on freshness. And this is what really matters. Large language models need augmentation for things that happened in the recent past. And so we've really been focused on making sure that the data that we return is the freshest data possible. So you know what happened yesterday. Your users know what happened 3 hours ago, that we can provide the freshest content available. And we also operate in the Pareto frontier for what we call our research API, our agentic search tool. What we found is that different use cases have many different points along the accuracy, latency, and cost spectrum. And what we found is that the product that we have in market right now does better across every one of these points along the spectrum and is defining the Pareto frontier, something that we continue to invest in heavily. But those are industry benchmarks. What we found is, those prove that we're credible, that we have a product that you should try out. But what we found is what really makes us useful is your evals. And so a lot of what we do is focused around helping you understand helping you if you have an eval set, running it through our system and showing you how we perform against it so that you can make a choice based on your data. And if you don't have an eval set, we can help you create one as well. And really a lot of this is understanding your queries, validating before you choose to go with us that for your queries, we perform really well, monitoring that continuously, and then evolving with your workload. What we found is that every time that we work with a client, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, their evals change, their query set changes. And we want to make sure that we're always delivering the best possible performance for your workload. The field is moving fast, and a lot. I won't read through all of this, but a couple things that you should be aware of is that, as we all know, the world is moving towards agent-first infrastructure, where agents are making a lot of the choices about the underlying APIs that are used, and that is an area where we're spending a lot of time optimizing, our product offering, not just for developers, but also more and more the agents that are making a lot of these choices for developers. Scalable search compute. This is a really interesting field. Things like voice mode. If you tried voice mode on ChatGPT and you give it a question where it has to go search the web, it takes a lot longer. But we're looking into how do we make it ultra short latency web search for those types of use cases. But on the other end of the spectrum, as with our research mode, what happens if you allow agentic web search tool to operate for an hour or a day or a week? Do you get significantly better results for certain types of queries? So exploring that space is a big part of what we're thinking through. And lastly, what we call model co-development. We're working with the labs around not just treating that augmentation layer as a separate layer, but as a layer that understands the layers around it, including the model layer, so that the next generation of this technology has this type of web data even more built into it and more, it's a better part of the experience that the models and the agents that run on top of them can provide. So we firmly believe that the companies that win AI will be the ones that get that search layer right, and we'd love to work with you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So how can people stay in contact with you?
You.com.
Saurabh at you.com. Yes, please inundate him with all your questions. He's here. But does anybody have any question for him? Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, like, if, let's say I have a company and then like I'm looking for a sketch-based search, would you be able to provide that, or is it just text-based?
For what type of search?
Sketch-based. Let's say you draw a butterfly and then like you return butterfly-related content.
Yeah, I think we do best with content that's on the web. So if that drawing is on the web, we're going to understand the nature of that drawing, so that if a person is looking for pictures of butterflies, we can return the content on the web that has that type of thing. So it's worth taking a look at where that use case might, whether our infrastructure would fit with the use case you have in mind.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, it's basically like I wanted to understand if you work with multimodal systems.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with image, it's easier, but with sketch, it's a little bit more difficult. So
yeah, I would say that image understanding is an important part of like semantically understanding the contents of a page. So we do definitely focus on text, images, those type of things. As you get into things like audio files, those type of things, those are things that we would build in a custom way, as opposed to something you could access off the shelf.
okay, thank you.
I see a few different.
Another question.
Yeah, maybe up there.
Hey, thanks. Some of us before the panel were talking about highly regulated industries, and I saw you have enterprise search, owned data. What's the one level deeper on that? If, say, certain silos of data are more protected, need to be sort of fenced off, available based on rights and roles?
Yeah, so there's two ways to answer that. There's a compliance angle to that. There's a privacy angle to that. There's a data type of, where does the data live? For example, another version of your question is EU data, coming over to the United States, those type of things. What I would say is that we have a number of sophisticated private data RAG implementations for a number of our customers. As you're kind of hinting at, there's no one size fits all solution there. Each industry is a little bit different. And so we tend to work best with the private data that isn't dealing with like permissioning issues, those type of things. Those can, as instead, for example, financial services. You may have a bunch of financial research memos that are sitting in your G Drive or your SharePoint. That's a better fit for our type of architecture than going deep into permissioning or going deep into HIPAA compliance type of issues, that type of thing. But we should talk offline. We can go into a lot more detail. Yeah. It's really use case dependent, as you're aware.
So I want to actually one thing what you just mentioned about the importance of the criticality of the search. I totally agree, and I actually told my team literally the similar thing is to have a very solid and the search capabilities is very important for us to be able to enable the agentic type of the functionalities. I just my question is about the context of the what you handle in your for the search. Do you also take into some of the contextual information for those search queries?
Yeah, great question. It depends on the product that you're using, right? So our typical general web search API is going to take a query and it's going to return there are things like country filters, those type of things to return the right information there. Our research API, which is more of an agentic search, is where it is looking a lot more at, it is trying to surmise the context of the query and be able to do that. There's a lot coming around. Give us more context around your query to help us focus, especially things like the research agentic search API. So it's a great question. Expect more coming there soon.
Thanks. So just want to say, I know we have more questions, but everybody at you.com, please raise your hand. Okay, just look at them. They're going to be there. So please do come talk with us. Maybe we can take one more question in the back because we didn't go in the back yet.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, my question is about enterprise search. I remember there was a focus originally on enterprise search with SaaS-based tools, and then things have been evolving. So is that still current focus, and or is it available in both options between enterprise search and individual search, if you will?
Yeah, great question. In general, our focus is web search use cases, public data on the web, feeds of public data, that type of thing. When needed, we're excited to combine that with private data so that you have a single pipe into your agents.
So I have a little more technical question. So as you mentioned about the latency is like 650 millisecond. So is it always domain-based data get updated on a real-time basis? That's why the latency is low. Like how does it happen like on the back-end side? Because if I search something, let's say on Facebook or what happened or latest match, what was the result? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, the 650 milliseconds is primarily for our general web index, where the data is crawled and indexed separately from the retrieval layer, right? And so you can, for example, turn on our live crawl options, and then it's longer than 650 milliseconds because it's actually going off and crawling in real time. But in general, the 650 milliseconds comes from the fact that we're crawling these websites, we're indexing them, and so when you ask for a query, we're not touching the web on that call. We're touching our own index and returning the data you need.
Thanks. Yeah.
These are great questions. Thank you.
Okay, one more. All right. Wait, let me give you the microphone so everybody can hear you.
You mentioned about the public data and private data combining together. Say if I have an address from US and then I give it to you, I want to know about all the owner and their background, demographic and the age and other details. Would you be able to give it? And would the charges be the same? Whatever that 1,000 calls per $5 or whatever is going to be the same if I do it.
Well, this is actually a great use case for our research API, which it does well with what I would term as enrichment tasks, which is what you're describing, right? Where the research API is designed to go off and find all the data that is necessary to answer that question holistically, right? And sometimes that may be possible at $5 CPM. Typically, though, enrichment tasks are more expensive, right? And you have to find what is the right point in our research API that works well for your use case. I suspect it would be higher than $5 CPM for these type of enrichment use cases. But the other way I would answer this is that public web enrichment will only take you so far. To perhaps the point you were making, you need to augment it with private information sometimes as well. Those would be a customized solution that we could look at to build for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so we have some swag bag for you at the end, but what is cool in the swag bag, there is a flyer, a postcard to get $100 credit for you.com. So you can try, shameless plug, you can try our APIs after that. And then if you are in an enterprise company, please message me personally. I'll connect you with our team and I can connect you with Saurabh here. Awesome, I'll give it a huge round of applause. All right, next up is our partner. So Ankit, he is a lead GenAI engineer at Databricks, and he's gonna talk about coding agent multiverse. Give it up for Ankit.
Hey everyone, my name's Ankit. I lead our AI infrastructure efforts here at Databricks. Have been here for around 7 years. Thank you to you.com for being great partners to us. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about something I'm sure all of you in the audience are using, which are coding agents. I saw earlier there was some poll about how many people here are software engineers. Seems like a lot of folks are. I think a lot more folks are going to become software engineers over time as these tools make it easier. But I want to talk about what that looks like for all of us. So I think the practical reality of this is just incredibly exciting for software engineering today. It feels like every week there's a new 10x engineer, and there's a new model that launches, capabilities advance. For the frontier has never moved faster. Claude Code, Codex, Gemini, CLI, Cursor, there's as many coding tools that you can use as you have time in the day. So how do you really figure out what to do with these things? I want to take a step back and actually think about this from the perspective of an admin at a company that's rolling out coding tools. These folks are typically trying to help people roll these kinds of vendor contracts out, and all of a sudden, this thing is blowing up. Right? There's multiple coding tools. Every developer wants a different one. So in order to really use it with enterprise data, you have to typically go and contract with that company, because by default, most of these coding tools are actually shipping the code that you have in your enterprise directly to that company for training. So most of the time, you probably shouldn't be using them unless you have an enterprise license. So what does that really mean, right? Like every new 10x coding tool means a new contract that you have to manage, another admin console, a huge amount of spend fragmented across all sorts of different places. And it's hard to kind of enforce the security policies that you might need, right? Coding agents are all amazing. I benefit massively from them, but probably the most annoying thing all of us do every day is just click yes over and over again until the agent's actually doing what we want it to do. And sometimes the questions that it's asking are like, hey, am I allowed to do a CD? And it's like, sure, I guess, why not? But sometimes it's like, well, can I post this comment on this Jira that's actually customer facing? And maybe that one you want to take a second look. If you have this many pieces of software, it's extremely hard to manage that in a reasonable way. And I think all of us, as we start using this more and more, as usage continues to grow, will continue to experience this. So this is really the most privileged user in your company. If it's working well, it has access to every system of record that you have access to as an engineer. That includes the logs that might have personal data. It includes your Jira tickets that might have customer information. Again, if these things are misconfigured, it sounds boring, but it is a huge risk.
We did our influencer campaign.
But at the same time, the benefits that you get from these coding tools are so tremendous in terms of ROI that it far outweighs any previous software that you've probably bought, right? Like the leverage that you're getting by making all of the engineers 20% faster is so significant that it makes sense to let developers have choice. Because what do developers actually do? And this is actually what I do, right? Like the company can pick a standard tool, that's fine. But if a new tool is better every day and I'm getting 20% more productivity from it, then I should probably use that tool. And so the reality is that sometimes different tools are better for different things. Claude Code might be better at refactoring, Codex might be better at tests, and a different tool might be better at code review. And the answer is probably not a debate about which one you should be using. It's probably, yes, let's use all of them. But how do you balance what I just said, what developers want, which is freedom and choice, with what is the practical reality of procuring these things when you're trying to reason about security? It's basically agent sprawl. You have all sorts of different agents. You have many, many different engineers. You have lots of different contracts, different billing consoles, admin consoles, where you're configuring security. It's a complete mess, but it's something that you absolutely have to figure out how to make sense of. So what we want to do is allow developers to have that freedom while giving admins the ability to feel like they have the control they need to roll these tools out faster. And we think that with our coding agent gateway, we actually have the opportunity to do this in a really scalable way that gives developers what they want and admins what they need. What does this provide? So the first thing is just, how do you think about the cost per developer for these coding tools? It might be the most convenient thing to say, hey, for every developer, just give a $1 limit and they can use any coding tool that they want. That allows you to stay at the frontier. And so what we're trying to do is offer people the ability to have that unified observability, see where you're hitting the rate limits across all of these different coding tools in one place, track who the power users are, use dashboards to kind of look at a lot of detailed metrics about how productivity is actually increasing from these tools, set those cost controls in a unified way, and ensure that all the usage that you have of these coding tools is private, secure, and managed in a single pane of glass. So we think that's going to give admins the cost controls and governance they need while giving developers the choice they want. And this is powered by one of our serving products here at Databricks. We call it Foundation Model API. So even if you're using a non-coding tool, if you're building an application that's just using the power of an LLM, we offer a platform that offers every kind of LLM in a single place with a single API. So that includes the Anthropic models, OpenAI, Gemini, as well as the popular open source models that we host on our own GPUs. And so because these are all in one place with one platform, you get them once and you can use whichever one of them you feel like using. And so on top of that, we've kind of layered in this gateway where you're able to use the coding tools with those very same models. And so we think it's not far away that you'd be able to use a really, really fast open source model for some of your use cases that might be okay for that, and a different model for some of your more complex planning use cases. So this has been a product that's not a new thing. We're doing a massive amount of scale. We support a batch mode as well. So lots of people use our platform in the batch mode. As of today, we're probably serving more than this, but this slide's a little old. We serve more than 5 trillion tokens per day. And we're lucky to have a bunch of really awesome customers who count on this platform. But we're excited about how this can help this new use case of coding agents. And so I think if we just look at inference and the things that we've talked about so far, we're probably missing one level of nuance, which is what do we do about MCPs? Now, I think MCPs are basically just APIs with a different name. And the real problem that you have here is that each individual user who uses a coding tool has different permissions on the downstream assets. So I don't have access to our CEO's Slacks for a good reason. And so it's not quite as simple as this diagram. It's not just developers hitting MCP servers that hit third-party APIs. You have to manage the authentication to these things, and that needs to be done in a somewhat central way. And today, that's done by just storing stuff locally and rotating it yourself, which is usually a recipe for disaster. And because these things are so productive, we've kind of rolled out this model. We think we can do better than this. So as part of this gateway, we're including this ability to connect to your downstream data in the same place where you're already probably importing it into your lakehouse, and connect your MCP servers to that. So you authenticate once against this MCP gateway, and you have access to all of these tools. You don't have to keep authenticating against different things all the time. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. I wanted to talk about a little bit how we are seeing coding tool adoption at Databricks. We're a big company. We have a lot of engineers and a lot of code that we're merging. And it's done across 7 different languages, probably 8 now, but also all across the world. What did we kind of do that's helped us roll out these coding tools at scale? I think the first thing, as we've been talking about, is measuring everything. Having every single engineer lean in is extremely important. And being at the frontier and moving fast, using the best models is absolutely the best way to make this productive. So just to reiterate, we think developers should be able to use any coding agent. And so we have our own wrapper on the coding agents, which is extremely lightweight and just points them at this gateway. So a developer uses what's called Isaac. So you go log into your instance, you just type in Isaac, and you can choose whichever tool you actually want to use. So that could be Claude Code, it could be Codex, it could be Gemini CLI, whatever you kind of feel like. You report your metrics in once through this gateway. So we can track all the lines of code that people are committing, how many tokens they're using, when they hit rate limits, so they need to be increased. And you log in once at the start of the day and you don't need to think about it again. That goes and centralizes your usage data into the same place all your other business metrics go, which is your system tables. You use the capacity from this high-scale inference platform that I just talked about that allows you to use any different kind of model or coding tool you want. And you get access to these governed tools through MCP catalog, and so your admins are able to feel like there's security behind this agent, which is extremely powerful. We track everything. So when I look at this kind of a dashboard, this is what all of our executives look at. How much are people using coding tools, and what can we do to unblock them? This dashboard comes out of the box in the gateway because all of these things are centralized in one place. And because your Workday data can be imported into your lakehouse, it's very, very easy to figure out and map that to the actual people and organizations. I think we can all agree, though, bottlenecks are shifting. Code generation is no longer going to be the bottleneck that keeps product development slower. It's more decision making. It's more code review. And these are what we're seeing, like scaling these systems, shifting left testing, shifting left CI, is allowing these coding tools to enter virtuous loops. So that's been, an incredible unlock for us. So if this is something that's interesting to you, I'd just love to talk about coding tools. Please partner with us, talk to us. We have awesome, search tools like you.com available on the platform as well. And if you build coding tools and want to supercharge that experience, please try to use this and give us feedback. That's all I had. Thank you so much.
Hi, I think it was 5 trillion tokens a day that you serve.
That's right.
How many tokens do your developers consume a day?
That's a good question.
Napkin calculations, it's about 5 trillion.
No, so actually what I would say is that most of our, so we actually power a bunch of, large applications. And so our customers, some of which are coding tools, actually largely dominate our usage. But I would say at least 1/5 of our usage is coding tools across all of our customers, including Databricks.
Thank you.